Hey everyone out there in YouTube land, Dan here from Geekcast Radio, doing something a little bit different. As you can see, you don't see my faces and there's no comics here. I got something a little bit different, and I was going through my stuff, and what I found was this card game that you see here is actually something I created about 14 years ago, around 2004, 2005-ish. We and my friends bought the Marvel vs. game, and we didn't like it all that much, so I thought, you know what, it didn't give me what I want, so why don't I create what I want? And that's what I did. And there are basically four different types of cards here. You have the player cards. These are the villains, the heroes, change the situation, which is kind of a randomizer, and then combat, which is where the actual combat goes. So I thought I would kind of show you what we did with this. Starting with the player card. So you can see this is an actual player card that you would get. Blue was for the heroes. Red, which I'll show you as well, is for the villains. And it's broken up into different categories. So you have different points here. The attributes were basically taken from Marvel database. I adjusted the scale because they had 1 to 7. I think I made it 1 to 12, just because the variety of characters. We have fighting skills, energy projection, intelligence, speed, strength, and total. Up here is their life. The heart is their actual life. The more powerful the character, it ranges anywhere from 0 to 300. And over here is a leadership score, which you helped to create your team total. Like you would take I forget the exact number we had, but it was a general number like 200, and times it by your team total, and then minus the power. So if you had a high team total, but a high of like a 300 for life, but 4 for your team leadership ability, it would impact you. And then the bottom are special abilities. Like for him, you can see for Wolverine, fighting skills, you increase 2 for hand to hand because of the claws. Abilities increase when fighting Sabretooth. Health factor also taken into account. So that would be, your typical player card, and we usually would have around 7 per team. So a lot of different characters that we created that I'll show you. So there you have like Cable here, and similar abilities, different abilities. This right here, mental telepathy, that takes place in regard to the combat, because there are different combat situations. So he has mental telepathy, unlike someone like Wolverine who doesn't. You have She-Hulk, for example, with her abilities. And then you have someone like Dark Phoenix. So you have very high, 290, one of the most powerful mutants. She has flight, space, and mental telepathy, different special powers. So if you made her your team leader, she has a low team score and a high life score, so you would actually have a lower team score to try to balance it out a little bit. I don't remember all the rules, to be honest with you, but we did spend a lot of time creating this. I was going through some of the character cards here that you can see. Sentry, this was around the time when he first debuted. I was one of the few people that did like the Sentry. Scarlet Spider, Quicksilver, Shadow Star. A villain card got thrown in here, but I can kind of show you. So the red were the villains. So we have Lizard, and special abilities increasing. Mystique, you have a Craven. Try to vary the different types. So how it would work is, whoever was the villains would put out their different characters and heroes, and then you had the opportunity to do things. You could draft your team. Usually you would know what players you had, anywhere from 7, so you can build your team up as it go. And you could also decide, I'm actually going to fight someone, and to do that you would pull up a combat card. You would indicate the characters that you would want to fight. So I would say, okay, I'm going to fight you with the Falcon, and I have the other person has the ability to then return or defend themselves with whatever characters they see fit, and say Craven, and then you would pull a combat card, determine what type of combat you would have. So this is Brawl, and you would add up the different abilities, your strength, fighting skill, and speed. So it would add them up between the two. Whoever had the highest would win, and you would then take the differences and remove it from their health. So if Craven's total was 15 and Falcon's was 10, that's Craven wins. So that means 5 from Falcon's life. So now he's 70 instead of being 75. And there's different types of combat as well. So there's Astral Plane. So it becomes a little bit tactical. So if you try to fight someone and they have mental telepathy and you don't, well, now you're kind of out of luck, because you have a 0 and now they have a high score, so they can take you out really quickly. So you can take a character that maybe doesn't have a lot of abilities but has mental telepathy and take out someone that's a lot more powerful, like an Iron Man or something like that. And then going through some of these, there's close combat, which is every ability that they have. And to make this, I use more Brawl. We used Microsoft Word, I think. I didn't have Photoshop. Brawl, again, another Brawl skill. There's the space, close combat, all abilities. There's hand-to-hand, another Brawl, all-out team. So this is where you would actually then, all the characters in total, times the leadership level. So, again, with someone like Dark Phoenix, it would become a problem because she has a low leadership level. See if I can find, there's a long range. So if you don't have any energy projection, that becomes a problem. So someone like Wolverine, who has no energy projection, he can be taken out by someone who maybe does. Hand-to-hand, again. Space. So again, there's a space piece, so if the person doesn't have space, that becomes a problem. So there's a lot of different team, again. So the idea was that you didn't know what type of fight you were going to have, so you had to try to strategize in ways that make sense and make sure that you have more of a complete team. And then there's these change of situation cards, which were probably the most fun to make because they vary so much. So I was going to pull some out of them. So basically, if I don't want to fight, I don't want to have combat, I don't want to pull a team out, I can take a change of situation card, and they can be a lot of different things, like the Cosmic Cube, for example. This is like a bonus card that you can use to do different things. You can change the combat type at any time, stop up to 2 characters from attacking, kill opponent's character with less than 50 life. Living Tribunal, it can bring all your team members. Bring in all your team members. So if you're fighting with one person and you're losing, you can then put this out. There's also some draft captured. You can put this on a card to put them pre-combat. So I'm attacking you with a really powerful character and a really weak character. I have this card. I'm going to put this captured card on you so that the weak character is by themselves. Nuclear Holocaust, because why not? And this basically kills all people, but it can only be used by villains. So there's a downside to that. Abyss. And then there's like some of these which you draft a character, and I tried to make some just oddball characters, like a Spider Carnage. You can take Captain America's shield, see the light. If you're playing against a villain, use this card to cause a villain to see the light and become good. So basically, you can take one of your other opponent's cards, Savage Land to affect mutants, Cityscape. So for someone like Spider-Man who doesn't have flight, you can use this. So now they do. Because that's how they would be able to use it. It'd be able to kind of strategize on that end. Jetpacks for those who don't have flight. Again, ability to draft some characters. And it was my game, so I could do what I want. So I included some Star Wars characters. Draft Yoda, because Yoda's awesome. And draft the Champion of the Universe. Often for characters that kind of fit in between heroes and villains, I use this. Friendly Fire, which would cause your team match people to fight each other. Rematch, which would give the chance to change the battle sequences. David vs. Goliath. Final Battle, which would mean that like you could speed up the game. Batman, no, this didn't mean you would automatically win, but it would mean that you would have him on your team, which gives you a good chance. Brick Wall, playing during pre-combat. Play this card on one of your opponents. This places a wall in front of them, causing them not to attack. Also, you can't attack, not attack them. Their combat adds at a 0-0 tie. It's not just, but it doesn't impact them. So in that case, like you see that you're getting attacked by 3 different characters, and you know one you don't have any kind of you're scared about because you don't really match up well. You kind of use this as an ability to quickly kind of set a draw. But there's a lot of these different ones. Captain versus Captain, Blades Glaive, this different Captain Universe, Power. Hostage. Again, this is only used by villains to try to taking kind of the real life tactics of villains and use them. Guardians of the Galaxy. This was what the Guardians of the Galaxy were at the time. They were not. This was before even the Advent and Landing series. Alpha Flight to help you. The Motorcycle to increase speed. Multiplication. So this card gives your team member the ability to increase area by 1 point. So Eye of Agamotto. The ability to basically look in different cards. The Shadow King to help you in mental telepathy, give up, and this causes the character to become so distraught they give up for 10 turns. So, as you know, sometimes characters just kind of call it quits. That's just what happens. Walking Dead. This was before the movie, so before the TV show and the comic, if I remember correctly. Again, another Spider-Man 29 drafted character, Danger Room. As you can see, I messed up, so I just kind of scratched it off. But you kind of get the point. It was just different things we would create. Hulk busting armor, just to make it a little bit more fun. The idea was with the change of situation cards, you never knew what you can get. Thor's hammer, the mutant collars, making people powerless, Spawn, draft Spawn in your team, Starjammers, the Hornet costume, just a lot of different things. Nuclear explosion that would cause, basically the game to end, to escape. But ultimately, that was the game. It was honestly a long game, and like I mentioned, I lost the rules a long time ago. This is kind of a mess, I admit, but it was a lot of fun to create, and just the coolest part was honestly creating a lot of these character cards, not knowing like who we could have. I'll just show you some more of them. Agent X, Kirgi. Sometimes this was really hard at times to find. I made Galactus a villain, which I know he technically isn't, but hey, why not? The Toad. I try to give a variety of different characters. Magneto and Ronan the Accuser. I'm just going through these, and I spent a lot of time making this. I'm not going to lie. Used a lot of ink. Vulcan. Remember him? He used to exist. The Juggernaut. One of my favorite cards. And I try to even them out as much as possible. Dark Phoenix. So there's a Phoenix and a Dark Phoenix. And the Blob. Pyro. Random. Man, just going through some of these, you can see characters that like I haven't seen in forever. The Russian. This was about the time the movie was out. So I think that's where like I knew him from. I think that image is from the video game, if I'm not mistaken. Lady Deathstrike. So yeah, a variety of different characters. As you can see, it's all Marvel based because that was, I'm a Marvel fan first. That pretty much. Taskmaster, though, that's a bad Taskmaster costume. I don't know why I chose that one, but these were the backgrounds for each. I think this was like a wallpaper at the time that I used, but I thought it worked well as the card. And these are just regular index cards. You can probably notice. Just pasted them glue stick, which I mean, I don't know how they're staying on. I've used things with glue stick before that have not actually had this type of shelf, but it did here. But wow, now cards are everywhere. And what was great about these is that it fit really nicely in this Cuban box. So I would actually just keep them in here. So as you can see, they actually fit in there quite nicely. And the only bad thing is people would think that I would have cigars, and I didn't. I just had a dorky card game that I created, and it caused a lot of disappointment. But it was a lot of fun. I actually might try to have a game when I have friends over and see if it still holds up, if I can still try to piece together all the different rules and things like that. But I remember it would take some time to play because, as all card games do. But let me know what you think. I was curious if anyone else out there has ever done anything like this, try to create their own card game or anything geeky, or what the most geeky thing is. Let me know in the comments below. But for now, just thanks for watching. Remember that comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.